Jai Hind students of class 8. Today we are going to start our first chapter for academic session 21-22. As you know that the government has decided to start new academic session from 12th of this month, but we are providing you the online lectures from this mode of teaching. So my dear students, for your betterment, if the school is doing this, then you must be also careful for your study. You must be also aware for your study. You must be get ready. Don't wait. What's going to be the future? What's going to be in future? You must be get ready, right? So, in order to maintain this academic session 21-22 carefully, with a great pace, we are going to start learning our first chapter from your English textbook, that is Honeydew, and the first chapter is the best Christmas present in the world. So my dear students, without wasting a time, let's have a start. This story has been divided in 3 segments and this is written by Morpardo, right? So let's have a start of this chapter. I spotted it in a junk shop in Bridport, a roll-top desk. The man said it was early 19th century and oak. I had wanted one, but they were far too expensive. This one was in a bad condition, the roll-top in several pieces, one leg clumsily mended, scorch marks all down one side. It was going for very little money. I thought I could restore it. I would be a risk, a challenge, but I had to have it. I paid the man and brought it back to my workroom. At the back of the garage, I began work on it on Christmas Eve. Now he would like to say that when he was at the junk shop at Bridport was the city, and where he saw a roll-top desk, that means there was a desk, and the man who was selling this had said that it was made in early 19th century and it was made by an oak, and I was really required for that one, but it was too expensive and also it was in bad condition. And it was rolled from means it was damaged from a number of sides, a number of pieces, and its one leg was clumsily mended, means it was repaired. And I think it was going for a very little money, and as I was aware, as I was determined that I could restore it, but it was a risk, it was a challenge, and I had decided to have it, and I paid them and brought it back to my home. Brought it back to my workroom, that was a garage, and I started working over it on Christmas Eve. I removed the roll-top completely and pulled out the drawers, and vinyl had lifted almost everywhere. Vinyl means a thin layer of plastics. It looked like water damage to me. Both fire and water had clearly taken the toll on this desk. The last drawer was stuck fast. I tried all I could each to get out gently. In the end, I used to brute force. I stuck it sharply with the side of my fast, and my drawer flew open to reveal a sandwich space underneath, a secret drawer. There was something in there. I reached in and took out a small black tin box. Cellotape to the top of it was piece of 9 note paper, and written on it is Seki handwriting, means bad handwriting. Jim's last letter, received January 25, 1915. To be buried with me when the time comes. I knew as I did it that it was wrong of me to open the box, but curiosity got the better of my scruples. Skulk means feelings that you may hesitate. Sometimes you are interested with the jobs, but there was an unusual idea who always forgets you, who always prevents you to do that. Inside the box there was an envelope. The address read Mrs. Jim Macpherson, 12 Copper Beaches, Bridport, Dorset. I took out the letter and unfolded it. It was written in the pencil and dated at the top, December 26, 1914. So my dear students, as I have brought up this whole top desk, and from Christmas Eve I started working over it. So first I have pulled up all the roll top, all the plastic that was mended over it, and it was looking at it has been destroyed by the rain, by water and by fire. Both have destroyed this. And I had started blowing over it, and I had kept out all the drawers. And when I kept out the drawer, I had seen that there was a secret drawer that was underneath. There was a secret drawer. Means under the table there was a secret drawer. It was made inside the desk also. And when I take out the drawer, when I just have a glance over the secret space, I found that there was something kept inside the box, and the box was covered with the lining note papers, means the note paper that is used for padding the gifts. And on that piece of lined note paper, there was a written Jim's last letter, received in January 1915, and to be buried with me when the time comes. And it was said that when I will die, this letter will be handed to Jim. Okay, and as I know that I was doing wrong, but there is something, my curiosity has provided me the strength to do the things that was for that I was being hesitated, right? And when I just opened the box, there was an envelope, and the address that was written was Mrs. Jim Macpherson, 12 Copper Beaches, Bridport, Dorset. And I took out the letter and unfolded it. It was written in the pencil, and at the top there was a date given, that was December 26, 1914. My dear students, just have a look. Sometimes we face such type of curiosity in us that we are willing to do something, but there was our inner conscience that always forbids us, right? So this thing was happening with the writer also, and he was also hesitating with the same phase, right? But he had done because his curiosity has overcome his hesitation. Now in the second unit, dearest Connie, I write to you in much happier frame of mind because something wonderful had just happened that I must tell you about at once. We were all standing in our trenches yesterday morning, Christmas morning. It was crisp and quite all about as beautiful a morning as I have ever seen, as cold as a frosty as a Christmas morning should be. Now it was written inside the letter, that the dearest Connie, it was the most happiest day for me as I have ever seen. It was coldest too, and it was the crisp and quiet all around. Means the day was extremely pleasant for the writer, and they were standing at their trenches. Trenches means the place where the soldiers stood. That means you can very well understand that the story is written by a soldier, that was Jim, and he had written the letter to his wife, that was Mrs. Jim Macpherson. Right, my dear students, and her name was Connie. I should like to be able to tell you that we began it, but the I am ashamed to say is that Fritz began it. First someone saw a white flag waving from the trenches opposite. Then they were calling out us across no man's land. Happy Christmas, Tommy. Happy Christmas. When we had got over the surprise, some of us shouted back, same to us, same to you, Fritz, same to you. I thought that we all did, but then suddenly one of them was up there in his grey coat and waving a white flag. Don't shoot, lads, someone shouted, and no one did. Then there was another Fritz up on the parapet and another, keep your heads down. I told the man, it's a trick, but it was not. Fritz, there is a name of German soldiers, and Fritz is a common German name, right? So what he had written in the poem, in this story, in the letter, that I should like to be able to tell you we began it. He was very excited in writing the letter and he was saying the truth. But he had said that he was ashamed to start because when he was at his strength, someone waved with the white flags and calls us to go on no man's land and also wishes Happy Christmas. When we got it, it was a surprising fact. Means how can an enemy greets Happy Christmas? How can an enemy wishes? And I had thought that there must be a trick, but it was not like that. Someone has got that don't shoot. And a great German, Fritz, it's a common name, means he was the captain of the army. He had come in no man's land. And one of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. It is the Christmas day. Tommy, we have schnapps. We have the sausages. We meet you. Yes, by this time there were a dozen of them walking towards us across no man's land, and not rifle between them. Little Private Morris was the first up. Come on, boys, what are we waiting for? And then there was no stopping them. I was the officer. I should have stopped them there and then, I suppose, but the truth is that it never even occurred to me I should. All along their line and ours, I could see men walking slowly towards one another, grey coats, khaki coats meeting in the middle, and I was one of them. I was the part of this. In the middle of the war, we were making peace. The students, it was a matter of peace, and as German captain had done, I had also supported him. Within a moment, armies of both of the sides were moving in no man's land. We were going to make peace, make silence everywhere. And it was the greatest battlefield, the greatest warfare every time. But at the same warfare, at the same field of battle, we were willing to maintain peace, maintain silence. And both of the armies in grey color, in khaki uniform, in grey uniform, both are playing mingle, and I was also the part of that. In fact, I could stop my army, but I had not done because I was seeing such type of sight first. That means I was also surprised, and I don't have control over it to give orders to stop my army, right? And also I have joined them. I was in the middle of those warfare. You cannot imagine, dearest pony, my feeling as I looked into the eyes of Fritz officer who approached me, hand outstretched, hands full. He said, gripping my hand warmly and holding it, I am Dusselford. I play the cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas. Writer was feeling the happiness, feeling the expression that was made by the German, and what he had said, that he approached towards me, and after making an handshake, he had given me information that he was just a fool and he played cello in the the orchestra and also wished Happy Christmas. Captain Jim McPherson, I replied, and a happy Christmas to you. I am a school teacher from Dorset in the west of England. I was also given reply that I was a teacher at Dorset in the west of England and my name is Jim McPherson. Dorset, he smiled. I know this place. I know it very well. He shared my rum ration and his excellent sausages. And we talked, only how we talked, he spoke almost perfect English, but it turned out that he had never seen food in Dorset, never even been to England. He had learned all he knew of England from school and from reading books in English. His favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. His favorite book was Far from the Madding Crowd. So, out there is no man's land. We talked of Bathsheba and Gabriel Oak and Sergeant Troy and Dorset. He had a wife and one son born just 6 months ago. As I looked about me, there was huddles of khaki and grey everywhere, all over no man's land, smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, eating. And so when I shared what was left of your wonderful Christmas cake, Connie, he thought that marzipan was the best he had ever tasted. I agreed, we agreed about everything, and he was my enemy. There never was a Christmas party like it, Connie. Marzipan means it was a sweet cake. It was a kind of sweet cake, right? So, dear students, as he is giving an information regarding this, what Hansworth had done, he was saying that we had exchanged our ideas. He had given the information that he was having a son before 6 months. He was also having a wife, and he was having a very happy small family. And I was having a look of all the sights at the no man's land, and when I have a look, everyone was enjoying. They were eating, drinking, they were enjoying the sausages, they were enjoying the rums, the whiskey, the wines, all the things. Means they were making communication, everything, whatever I can see, that was looking the happiest things to me. And my dear students, then someone I don't know who brought out a football. Great coats were drums in piles to make goalpost, and the next thing we knew it was Tommy against Fritz out in the middle and no man's land. Henceforth, and I looked on and cheered, clapping our hands and stamping our feet to keep out the colds as much as anything. There was a moment when I noticed our breeze mingling in the air between us. He sighed too and smiled. Jim McPherson, he said, after a while I think this is how we should resolve the war. A football match. No one dies in a football match. No children are orphaned. No wives become widows. The students, he had said, suddenly we all were enjoying that moment, but suddenly someone I don't know who had brought the football before us, and within a moment the football was being started. Before Fritz, there was Tommy. Everyone was cheering, and at that time I just started thinking about the things that what happens, how it would be if every war will end in such a way. That means this must be a very great way of having decision for a war, like a football match. No one will lose his life. No one is going to lose his father. No one is going to lose his husband. Means a family will be perfect every time. No loss of lives will be done when the war will end in the form of a football match. Right? I would prefer cricket. I told him then we Tommies could be sure of winning probably. We laughed at that and together we watched the game. Sad to say, Connie Fritz won 2 goals to 1, but as Hansworth generously said, our goals was wider than theirs, so it was not quite fair. As I was a Britisher, so I preferred cricket, and maybe there is a probability of being a winner, and we laughed that. We watched the game, we are not a part of the game, but we enjoyed sitting aside. And Fritz won 2 goals to 1, but Hansworth generously said that our goal was wider than one. That means there was a communication about this. So my dear students, I think the story, the part of this type of part means approximately 50% I have covered today, right? Once again, I was just going to make I am going to summarize this 50% of the chapter today. Means writer had purchased the roll top down desk that was even totally destroyed, but he was having a determination that he will restore it, and he started working over it in a garage. And when he was working over it, there was a secret space there, and when he just kept out the space, he found there was a box that was lined with that was packed with the lining paper. And there was an address that is being printed, right? And after that, when he took out the envelope, there was a letter inside. And when he read the letter, it was given an information that the letter was related from the military, the army of the Britishers, and Jim McPherson was the writer, and he had written that letter to his wife. And it was the last letter, and it was his wish that will be posted after the end of his life. And what he had informed in his life, in his letter, that he made another German captain who was opposing him, and once at a Christmas Eve, he approached towards him in no man's land, and when they connected and they talked about a number of things, like he was very surprised to be that I am belonging from Dorset, I was the part of Dorset, I was a native of Dorset. Then he said that he was very well aware with Dorset. So means, and but according to his language, according to his communication skills, it was not probable that he had ever traveled to Britishers. So whatever the information he is having about England, that will be the part of the stories that he had learned, right? So my dear students, I think that's enough for today. Rest of the topic will be covered in the next video. Up to the time, thank you. Have a nice day.